written by Christof Koch from the Allen Institute for Brain Science. The possibility of life after death has captivated humanity for millennia. Across cultures and throughout history, beliefs about the afterlife vary greatly. Some imagine a paradise of eternal bliss, while others envision reincarnation or a spiritual realm beyond our understanding. Despite these diverse beliefs, the question remains, what happens to us when we die? Science, with its emphasis on empirical evidence and testable hypotheses, faces a unique challenge in addressing this age-old question. The afterlife, by its very nature, lies beyond the reach of our current scientific instruments and methods. However, that doesn't mean science has nothing to say about death and the possibility of something beyond. In recent decades, advancements in neuroscience, biology, and physics have shed new light on the nature of consciousness, the brain, and the universe itself. While these discoveries haven't definitively proven or disproven the existence of an afterlife, they offer intriguing possibilities and fuel ongoing debates. This essay explores the intersection of science and the afterlife, examining what we know, what we don't know, and the tantalizing questions that continue to drive scientific inquiry. To understand the possibility of life after death, we must first define what death is. From a biological perspective, death is not a single event but a process. It involves the cessation of vital bodily functions, ultimately leading to the irreversible breakdown of cells and tissues. Traditionally, death was declared when a person's heart stopped beating and they were no longer breathing. This is known as clinical death. However, with advancements in medical technology, we can now resuscitate individuals even after their heart has stopped. This has led to the concept of biological death. Biological death refers to the irreversible cessation of all brain activity, including the brainstem, which controls vital functions like breathing and heartbeat. When the brain permanently ceases to function, the individual is considered biologically dead, even if their organs can be temporarily sustained through artificial means. Understanding the biological definition of death is crucial when considering the possibility of an afterlife. If consciousness and personal identity are inextricably linked to brain function, then biological death would seem to mark their end as well. However, some argue that consciousness, like energy, cannot be destroyed, only transformed, opening the door to alternative possibilities. Near-death experiences, or NDEs, are profound subjective experiences that occur close to death. They often involve a sense of peace, detachment from the body, a tunnel of light, or encounters with deceased loved ones. While NDEs are frequently interpreted as evidence for an afterlife, science offers alternative explanations. One theory suggests that NDEs are hallucinations caused by oxygen deprivation, also known as hypoxia, in the brain. As the brain is starved of oxygen, its normal functioning is disrupted, potentially leading to vivid and unusual sensory experiences. Another theory points to the release of DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, a powerful psychedelic produced naturally in the brain during times of extreme stress or near death. DMT is known to induce altered states of consciousness, including mystical experiences and feelings of transcendence, which could explain some aspects of NDEs. While physiological explanations offer plausible accounts for NDEs, they don't fully capture the subjective nature and profound impact of these experiences for many individuals. The debate surrounding NDEs highlights the complexities of consciousness and the limitations of current scientific methods in fully understanding these phenomena. Section 4. The Enigma of Consciousness. Tied to the brain or beyond, at the heart of the life-after-death debate lies the question of consciousness. Is consciousness simply a product of the brain, emerging from complex electrochemical interactions between neurons? Or is it something more fundamental, perhaps even independent of the physical body? Materialist neuroscience, the dominant paradigm in brain science, posits that consciousness is an emergent property of the brain. This view argues that specific brain regions and neural networks give rise to subjective experience, and damage to these areas can profoundly alter or extinguish consciousness. However, Alternative theories like panpsychism propose that consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, existing in all matter to varying degrees. In this view, the brain acts as a receiver or filter of consciousness rather than its sole generator. Another intriguing theory, quantum consciousness, speculates that quantum mechanical phenomena, such as quantum entanglement and superposition, might play a role in consciousness. Proponents argue that these strange quantum effects could explain the non-local, interconnected nature of consciousness that some believe transcends the physical limitations of the brain. Section 5. The challenge of studying the afterlife. Studying the afterlife poses significant challenges for science. The scientific method relies on observation, measurement, and repeatability. However, the afterlife, by definition, exists outside the realm of our physical reality and current scientific instruments. One of the main obstacles is the subjective nature of afterlife experiences. Near-death experiences, for instance, while offering compelling personal accounts, are difficult to verify or replicate under controlled laboratory conditions. The same challenge applies to other purported forms of evidence for the afterlife, such as mediumship or spiritual communication, which are often subject to interpretation, bias, and fraud. Furthermore, the lack of a clear and testable hypothesis about the nature of the afterlife makes it difficult to design experiments or collect meaningful data. Without a concrete framework to guide research, scientific inquiry into the afterlife remains speculative and inconclusive. Section 6. Speculative Frontiers, Quantum Physics and Life After Death. While the scientific consensus remains skeptical about the afterlife, some physicists and consciousness researchers are exploring speculative theories that could bridge the gap between science and the possibility of life after death. One such theory draws on the strangeness of quantum mechanics. Quantum entanglement, where two particles become linked and influence each other instantaneously regardless of distance, suggests a non-local aspect to reality. Could consciousness, like entangled particles, exist independently of space and time, persisting even after the physical body dies? Another area of exploration is information theory, which posits that information is fundamental to reality. Could consciousness be a form of information that's not bound to the physical body, but can be transferred or encoded elsewhere, perhaps in a universal consciousness field or a higher dimensional realm? These theories, while intriguing, remain highly speculative and lack empirical evidence. However, they highlight the limitations of our current scientific understanding and the possibility that future discoveries in physics and consciousness research might radically alter our understanding of life and death. Section 7. Conclusion. What science can and cannot tell us. The question of life after death remains one of humanity's most enduring mysteries. While science has made significant strides in understanding the biological basis of life and death, the nature of consciousness and the possibility of an afterlife continue to elude definitive answers. Science can provide plausible explanations for near-death experiences and shed light on the brain's role in consciousness. However, it cannot definitively prove or disprove the existence of an afterlife. The subjective nature of consciousness and the inherent limitations of studying a realm beyond our physical reality pose significant challenges for scientific inquiry. While the scientific consensus remains grounded in empirical evidence and testable hypotheses, the door to possibilities remains open. As our understanding of consciousness, physics, and the universe expands, we might discover new ways to approach the age-old question of what happens after we die. Until then, the mystery of life after death continues to captivate our imaginations and inspire wonder about the nature of existence itself.